Silent vigilance. Captain Mira Rice stared at the holographic display that dominated the command center of Outpost Sentinel, Earth's furthest deep space monitoring station. The anomaly had first appeared 6 hours ago, a distortion in space that their quantum sensors couldn't quite define. Now, it had resolved into something far more alarming. Confirmation, sir. We're detecting a fleet of approximately 300 vessels entering the outer reaches of the Kuiper Belt, Lieutenant Walsh reported, his voice steady despite the gravity of his words. Configuration unknown. Not matching any allied species in our database. Mira's fingers tensed around the edge of the console. Time to Earth intercepted current velocity. 72 hours, Captain. She took a deep breath. For 15 years, humanity had maintained the facade of being just another minor spacefaring species, technologically competent but unremarkable in the galactic community. It was a carefully crafted deception, one that Admiral Katsuo Chen had orchestrated with patience and foresight. The Sentinel Protocol had seemed excessive to many in Earth's leadership, a paranoid preparation for a threat that might never materialize. Until now. Contact Admiral Chen immediately, she ordered. Priority Alpha. Activation phrase. Harbinger Dawn. The communications officer paled slightly at the code words but complied without hesitation. Within moments, the weathered face of Admiral Chen appeared on the main screen, his expression grave even before Mira began her report. Sentinel has confirmed a significant incursion force. Admiral. Classification Omega. The veil is about to be tested. Chen nodded once, his eyes revealing nothing of the turmoil such news must have stirred. Understood, Captain. Return to Earth at maximum speed. We've prepared for this day. The transmission ended, and Mira turned to her crew. Prepare for immediate departure. All data to be transmitted to Luna Command on secure channels. We are now operating under Sentinel Directive. As the outpost crew rushed to execute her orders, Mira allowed herself a moment of reflection. The directive had been in place since humanity's first encounters with alien civilizations revealed a stark truth. The galaxy was not a peaceful playground of cooperation, but a hunting ground where the strong survived and the weak served. Each new species humanity contacted seemed to regard them with thinly veiled condescension. Primitive newcomers, barely worth acknowledging. Admiral Chen had recognized the danger. While Earth's public space forces remained modest, a shadow fleet was constructed in the hidden shipyards of Neptune's moons and the asteroid belt, funded by a black budget and staffed by personnel who officially didn't exist. Technological breakthroughs were quietly classified, weapons development accelerated in secret facilities beneath lunar regolith. Now, as the outpost Sentinel broke orbit and accelerated toward Earth, Mira wondered if it would be enough. High Imperator Vexthal stood on the command deck of the Indomitable Will, flagship of the Kryvax Imperial Armada. His 4 arms were clasped behind his back, the chitinous plating of his exoskeleton gleaming under the ambient lighting. For 6 generations, the Kryvax Empire had expanded across the stars, incorporating dozens of worlds and species into their domain. Some through negotiation, most through conquest. Status report on the target system, he commanded. Sub-Commander Naxvin approached with a data tablet. As expected, Imperator. The system contains 9 planets, with the 3rd being the homeworld of the species designated humans. Our preliminary scans confirm limited orbital defenses, mainly concentrated around their planet and its moon. Their technology is moderately advanced, but poses no significant threat to our forces, and their interstellar presence. Minimal. They maintain a handful of outposts in nearby systems and engage in trade with several species, but their military capabilities appear limited to system defense vessels and a small number of cruiser-class ships. Vextal's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Another straightforward acquisition. Then, their world is resource-rich, and the population will provide adequate labor for our mining operations. Begin standard conquest procedures upon arrival. There is one anomaly worth noting, Imperator. Naxvin added hesitantly. A small vessel departed from the outer system shortly after our fleet emerged from fold space. It appeared to be some form of monitoring station, and is now moving toward the inner system at high velocity. They've detected us, then, Vexthal said dismissively. It changes nothing. By the time they organize any meaningful response, our ships will be in orbit around their world. Prepare the invasion force. In the underground complex beneath the Mariana military zone, Admiral Katsuo Chen activated the Sentinel protocol with a biometric confirmation that unlocked systems dormant for years. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations powered up, automated manufacturing plants accelerated production, and stealth satellites realigned to new configurations. Status of the Ghost Fleet? He asked the room of senior officers. General Diana Rivera, commander of Earth's Defense Forces, responded first. 9 battle groups at full readiness, Admiral. 2 more at 85% due to scheduled maintenance. Deployment pattern Echo is already underway. And our allies. The Arcturus Compact has acknowledged our alert and is mobilizing their defensive fleet to their border regions in case this is part of a larger Krivax offensive, Colonel Abayomi reported from the diplomatic station. The Solarians have reaffirmed their mutual defense pact, but estimate 8 days before their forces could reach our system. Chen nodded, processing the information with the calm efficiency that had marked his 50-year career. We stand alone for the opening phase, then. He turned to the strategic display showing the approaching Krivax fleet. Captain Rice's outpost confirmed 300 vessels. Our intelligence suggests standard Krivax formation. Heavy battleships in the center, cruiser screens on the flanks, fighter carriers in the rear. He manipulated the holographic display, highlighting specific regions of space. We have the advantage of territory and preparation. Initiate Operation Phantom Shield. All civilian traffic is to be grounded immediately. Activate planetary defense grids and begin transitioning critical infrastructure to secure protocols. As his orders were relayed throughout Earth's defense network, Chen accessed a private communication channel. The face that appeared belonged to Dr. Eliza Sheo, chief scientist of Project Prometheus. "Is it ready, Doctor?" he asked without preamble. Dr. Sheo's expression was tense but determined. The Mark VII prototypes have been installed on the Artemis and Apollo battle groups as scheduled. They've passed all simulations, but this will be their first field deployment. "It may be our only edge," Chen replied. "The Krivax outnumber us, and their technology is formidable. Prepare your teams for emergency modifications if needed." As the connection closed, Chen turned back to the command center. The next 72 hours would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. They had prepared for this moment, hidden their strength, cultivated the perception of weakness. Now they would reveal the truth. Humanity would not be another trophy for an expanding empire. The Krivax fleet dropped out of FTL on the edge of the solar system, their massive ships creating ripples in the fabric of space-time. Vexthal observed the tactical display with satisfaction as his vessels formed into attack configuration. "Begin approach to the target planet," he ordered. "Have the diplomatic corps prepare the standard terms of surrender." The Armada moved forward, accelerating toward Earth with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Scans showed minimal resistance, a scattering of defense platforms near the inner planets, a handful of military vessels near the blue world that was their target. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the human world." "Display it," Vexthal commanded, prepared to hear pleas for mercy or offers of surrender. The holographic screen materialized before him, showing a human male in a dark uniform adorned with symbols of rank. His face was weathered, his expression calm and measured. "This is Admiral Katsuo Chen of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. "You have entered restricted space without authorization. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Vexthal clicked his mandibles in amusement. "I am High Imperator Vexthal of the Krivax Empire. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our domain." Surrender your defenses and prepare your population for transition to Imperial authority. The human's expression didn't change. That will not be possible, Imperator. I suggest you withdraw your forces immediately. You are in no position to make demands, Vexthal replied, irritation creeping into his voice. Our scans show your defenses are minimal. Accept the inevitable, and your species may be granted favorable terms. Admiral Chen's lips curved in what might have been a smile. Your scans are incomplete, Imperator. Allow me to correct that oversight. The transmission cut off abruptly. Moments later, the tactical officer let out a startled cry. Imperator, new contacts appearing throughout the system. Vexthal turned to the display in disbelief as hundreds of signatures materialized where empty space had been moments before. Ships of unknown configuration had appeared around his fleet, emerging from what appeared to be perfect stealth conditions. Impossible, he hissed. Where did they come from? Before his officers could respond, the surviving Kryvax ships adjusted their formation, focusing their considerable firepower on what they believed to be the human command vessel. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes converged on the target, momentarily overwhelming its defenses and tearing through its hull. A ripple of triumph passed through the Kryvax command deck, until the tactical display updated to show the battle continuing unabated, the human fleet's coordination unchanged. Decentralized command. Vexthal realized aloud. They anticipated losing ships, even command vessels. It was a revelation that came too late. The human fleet had already begun its next maneuver, ships moving into positions that further divided the Kryvax forces, isolating vessel clusters and overwhelming them with concentrated fire. In Earth's command center, Chen received the report of the destruction of the decoy flagship with stoic acceptance. Casualties. Crew evacuation was 92% successful before the vessel was lost, General Rivera reported. The sacrifice served its purpose. The Kryvax took the bait. Commence Phase 3, Chen ordered. All battle groups execute Hydra formation. The Earth fleet's movements shifted again, adopting a fluid, constantly changing pattern that made targeting increasingly difficult for the Kryvax gunners. Meanwhile, a specialized task force led by the stealth destroyer Penumbra maneuvered silently toward the indomitable Will. Captain Layla Kadem, commander of the Penumbra, addressed her strike team. Our objective is clear. Neutralize the Kryvax flagship's propulsion and weapons, then secure the command deck. Admiral Chen wants Imperator Vexthal captured alive if possible. Her team, a mixture of hardened veterans and combat engineers, acknowledged the orders with quiet determination. They had trained for this scenario for years, studying Kryvax ship designs and combat tactics. As the Penumbra closed to optimal range, Captain Kadem gave the order. Deploy boarding drones. Dozens of automated craft launched from the destroyer's bay, each carrying a specialized payload. Some contained electronic warfare packages designed to disrupt the flagship's systems. Others carried precisely calibrated explosives targeted at key structural points. The remainder transported the strike team, protected by stealth fields that rendered them nearly invisible to Kryvax sensors. Vexthal was still issuing orders for a counteroffensive when the first explosions rocked the indomitable Will. Emergency alarms blared as systems throughout the ship began failing in rapid succession. We've been breached, the security chief reported. Multiple hull penetrations. Internal sensors are going offline by section. Seal all compartments leading to the command deck, Vexthal ordered. Deploy all security personnel. But the human assault had been too well planned, too precisely executed. The strike team moved through the flagship with efficiency born of perfect intelligence and exhaustive training. Kryvax defenders fell before they could mount an effective resistance. Within 20 minutes, the doors to the command deck burst open, and Captain Kadem entered with her team, weapons trained on the Kryvax officers. Imperator Vexthal, she announced, your fleet is defeated. Your flagship is under our control. Surrender now. Vexthal drew himself up to his full height, his chitinous armor gleaming under the emergency lighting. I will not yield to a lesser species. The Kryvax Empire does not surrender. Look around you, Imperator, Kadam replied, gesturing to the tactical display where the remnants of his once mighty armada were being systematically dismantled. Your empire ends here unless you choose differently. For a moment that stretched into eternity, Vexthal stared at the human commander, his alien mind struggling to comprehend how completely he had been outmaneuvered. Then, slowly, deliberately, he lowered his weapons. I yield, he said, his voice hollow with defeat. 3 days later, Admiral Chen stood in the observation deck of Earth's orbital diplomatic station, watching as representatives from a dozen alien species arrived for the emergency conference. The Kryvax incursion and its decisive defeat had sent shockwaves throughout the galactic community. They're calling it the Terran Revelation, General Rivera said as she joined him by the viewport. Every news network from here to the Andromeda Arm is running specials on how humanity hid its true capabilities for decades. Chen nodded. And now will never be underestimated again. Was it worth it? The deception, the resources poured into the Shadow Fleet, all the years of playing the humble newcomers. Look around, Chen replied, gesturing to the approaching diplomatic vessels. Species that barely acknowledged our existence a week ago are now eager to establish formal relations. The Kryvax Empire is suing for peace, and most importantly, he turned to meet Rivera's gaze. Earth remains free and unoccupied. As they watched, a transport arrived carrying the newly appointed Kryvax diplomatic delegation. Among them was Vexthal, no longer an imperator, but now serving as an envoy of a chastened empire. They won't be the last to test us, Rivera observed. No, Chen agreed. But perhaps the next would-be conqueror will think twice. The galaxy now knows humanity is not prey. Outside the viewport, Earth rotated serenely against the backdrop of stars, its orbital defenses now visible for all to see. The veil had been lifted, and a new chapter in human history had begun, one where humanity stood not as a minor power to be patronized or conquered, but as a force to be respected. The silent guardians had revealed themselves, and the stars would never look the same again.